The firestorm still rages over California's recent ban on gay marriage. Thousands continue to take to the streets in protest in all 50 states across the country. That backlash is generating its own backlash from the right. Take a listen to former House Speaker Newt Gingrich on the O'Reilly factor.
Look, I think there is a gay and secular fascism in this country that wants to impose its will on the rest of us, is prepared to use violence, to use harassment. I think it is prepared to use the government if it can get control of it.
Huh? Newt Gingrich basically just called gay rights protesters fascists. So here's the dictionary definition of fascism: a governmental system led by a dictator having complete power, forcibly suppressing opposition and criticism, regimenting all industry, commerce, etc., and emphasizing an aggressive nationalism and often racism. Sounds like kind of a stretch to me, Newt. Actually, regimentation and aggressive nationalism associated with prejudice, that's what gay rights protesters say is being done to them when being able to marry somebody you love is equated with fascism. I think we've entered dangerous territory. With me now, Steve Young, who writes for the Huffington Post, and Matthew Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel and a supporter of Prop 8. I got to get your reaction, gentlemen, on this comment by Newt Gingrich. Let's start with you, Steve. I mean, to me, this is, you know, somebody who had a very prominent position in government at one point. To say something like that strikes me as outrageous.
Well, he's always been outrageous. I mean, hyperbole, he doesn't know hyperbole that he's never disliked. But you just wonder, is he ready to put the pink armbands on the gays now? It's just, this is the reverse. This is what the right does, the far right does. They try to paint a target. They try to fearmonger. They're putting the gays in a position, calling them fascists, when actually Newt Gingrich is being the fascist here. He is setting these people up like they're some sort of threat to our very lives. And the fact is, all they're trying to do is get married. First of all, in California, I think child rapists still can get married, but gays can't get married. So this whole thing about being a threat to our livelihood, and as it goes on, this whole quote that he went through on O'Reilly's show got even worse. It was talking about the values that were going to be, in effect, criminalized by the gays wanting to go out and get their rights.
Matthew Staver, I wanted you to jump in here, because what's extraordinary to me is that the Mormon Church and others who were in support of Prop 8 have actually accused the protesters of going too far because they're out there demonstrating. I don't see them breaking any laws there. And yet, they're the ones being accused of fascism?
Well, I think let's put aside the labels of fascism and let's look at the actual facts. And I think one of the points that Newt was really trying to say, and I think it's well taken, is that there is extreme violence that we're seeing. And I think we all should agree.
What violence? Where are you
seeing
seeing extreme violence?
It's
everywhere.
You know what? Gays are not known for extreme violence.
We have Bashback, and that particular organization has agreed that they were responsible for graffiti. They've agreed that they've been responsible for other kinds of violence.
Graffiti.
We have a person who is with
I mean, when you think of what's happened to gays...
Hold on, let me just make this point.
Let me just say this, though. You're saying, let's forget about the comments regarding fascism. Let's just...
We have the daughter of the owner of the El Coyote restaurant. She gave $100 to support the Proposition 8. That restaurant, because she gave $100, was the target of riots. Riot police had to be called out to calm the crowd.
I'll tell you what really happened. All her customers practically are gay, and they all said, we don't want to go there anymore, because you're not on our side.
You know, we can have differences of opinion,
as a gay
but
restaurant
stop the violence.
in Los Angeles. That's what happened. That restaurant was not the subject of riots. It was simply
will you and Steve agree with
said,
me
I'm not going to go there
that we ought to stop the violence? Will you and Steve just agree
we
that
have to start the violence before we first stop the violence?
We have a person who gave $1,000, who's been a 25-year artistic director of the California Musical Theater, was forced to resign because he supported Proposition 8.
Now, wait a second.
That kind of thing is horrendous.
He wasn't forced to resign.
The violence and the harassment.
let me just say this. The Mormon Church gave an estimated $20 million to pass Prop 8. So if you want to talk about money and the factor that it plays in this entire scenario, you have to look at the fact that people are using their muscle to get Prop 8
passed. Well, money in the democratic process of voting is one thing. We all have the opportunity to do that. We can disagree, and obviously we have disagreements on this issue, but we should not target elderly people and take their cross, as we saw on one particular video where they stomped on the cross of an elderly lady simply because she was a supporter of Prop 8. Those kinds of things are uncalled for. They're over the top. This kind of rhetoric does not help, and it's something that we should not have in a civilized society.
All right, you've had your say, but I'd like to say this. I think that all these protests across the country, and in fact, they're gone global at this point, actually show people and are showing Americans what average gays look like. They look like the rest of the United States. I want you to take a look
is that there is a violent opposition here that's being used to try to force
show. Please hold on a second. Listen to ordinary Americans explaining why they are out there protesting for the passage of Prop 8.
You don't have ordinary people supporting this while you have...
We deserve to get married. We deserve wedding bells too. We want the world to recognize the love that we have cherished together, the families that we are bringing up, and we want our kids to grow up in a world of love, not hate. Equal rights!
Yeah! We told him that people think that mommy and mama shouldn't be able to get married, and he was very disappointed. He looked like he was going to cry, and he said, well, why is that? And I said, well, some people think just a boy and a girl should get married and not a girl and a girl and a boy and a boy. He's like, I just don't understand. I said, baby, I don't understand either.
Steve Young, are those rioters? I mean, those are average Americans.
They are violent. It's just happening everywhere. You know, when they go out and they pick out, if there was any particular violence, although I think the violence they're talking about is perhaps that they played It's Raining Men too loud. But the fact is that if God really wanted the Mormons or Focus on the Family or Newt Gingrich to defend defend marriage, he would have not created Liza Minnelli. The fact is, you're sitting there in a situation where these people want to get married, yet that's something wrong. And if heterosexuals say under God in a church...
We got to go. We got to go. And I know both of you are probably feeling you didn't have enough time, but guess what? You both actually did speak for quite a bit of time, the entire segment. So thank you so much, Steve and Matthew. I appreciate you engaging in a vigorous debate. And the momentum behind gay civil rights doesn't end with Prop 8.